There is no other book like it in the world, written in a language that is supposed to be real, but at the same time no one can read it. A language that does not exist anywhere else in the world except in this book. Over the years, many scientists and code-breaking experts have tried to solve the mystery of reading. This book, until this moment, no one has been able to reveal its secret. Today, we will delve into the details of this book and learn about its wondrous history.
Welcome to the Mystery and Secrets channel. Today we will talk about the mysterious book called the Vounich Manuscript.
What is the secret of this book and why has it confused the world to this extent? This book is considered by many people to be the strangest book in the world. What is strange about the book is that it is written in an incomprehensible and unknown language. There are no monuments, civilizations, or documents in the world that contain a language similar to this language at all. A unique language that has not appeared anywhere else. The author or original source of the book is also unknown. But the most famous owner of this book is a bookseller named Wilfred Voynich. This is the first person known to have owned the book in a certain and historically documented manner. That's why the book was named after him. Wilfred Voynich was born in 1865 in Poland. He spent his youth imprisoned because of his revolutionary tendencies against the regime of the Russian Empire that ruled Poland at the time. Voynich was imprisoned in a Siberian prison. This prison was one of the most difficult prisons. It is enough for you that Siberia is one of the coldest regions in the world. Voynich was resourceful and managed to escape from prison. Although movement in Siberia was difficult due to heavy snow,
He was able to get out. From there, he continued his journey to Hamburg, Germany. He stayed there for a short time and then traveled to London. In London, he continued his revolutionary activity for a while, after which he decided to stop in 1895 and move into the field of book trading and collecting. For many years, he continued to increase his trade until he became known as one of the largest book dealers in the world. He specializes in precious archaeological and historical books. One of the things that helped him in his work is that he speaks 18 languages. You can say he is an expert in languages, but imagine his shock when he received in his hands a mysterious book written in a language he had never encountered before. But how did he get this book? In 1912 in Italy, there was a library or an aristocratic institution that was on the verge of bankruptcy, so the stakeholders decided to sell some of its books to protect themselves from bankruptcy. The first time Voynich heard this, he went there and bought nearly 300 books. Of course, these books were historical and old. Among these books was the mysterious book that was later named after him, the Vounich Manuscript. When Voynich saw this book, he was amazed. He had never seen anything similar to this language in his life. Voynich was the first to try to decipher this book, even though he was an expert in languages, as we mentioned previously. But he had no idea what language was in the book. He tried to present the book to language experts and university professors, but all his attempts failed. No one was able to read this book or know this language, and Voynich continued and tried by all means and methods to decipher the symbols of this book until he died in 1930 without achieving any results after his death. This book was named after him, the Voynich book, or manuscript, and to this day, its secret remains unknown, and no one has been able to understand its meaning or the language in which this book was written. It is possible for some to say that this language is not a real language, but rather a fake language, or that someone composed it from his head. What is controversial is that language experts analyzed letters and words and concluded that there is consistency and stability in the writing style and word structure. In their view, these texts could not have been written. It was written randomly, but at the same time, they were unable to analyze it and reach its meanings. This book contains approximately 240 pages written on papers made of animal skin. It contains not only text, but also drawings, mostly drawings of herbs and plants. But none of these plants represent any plant on Earth. There are some similarities, but not identical. There are also drawings that resemble drawings of galaxies, planets, the sun, and the moon. They may be drawings about astronomy and horoscopes, and other drawings of naked women, but it is clear that they are not for excitement or temptation. Through these drawings that we mentioned, we can say that the book talks about more than one topic, such as astronomy, planets, nature, plants, medicine, and herbal recipes. The book is currently preserved in the Vounich Rare Book Library at Yale University in the United States. Over the years, many linguists, historians, and code-breaking experts have tried to uncover its secret. So far, no one has been able to solve the mystery or reveal the secret. But there are many theories regarding this book, its source, and who wrote this book. The first theory put forward is that Vounich was the maker of this book, and that the book is in fact an elaborate forgery, especially since Vounich was a rare book dealer and not an ordinary dealer. He was one of the largest merchants in the world at that time and had experience in languages. This suggests that he had the ability to forge this book with absolute professionalism. The text is created in a language that resembles real languages, but does not have any meaning at the same time. This book was not like other books. Rather, it was a financially expensive book. Inside this book were folded pages. When I opened these pages, they turned into a large page. All of these pages were made of animal skins, as this was considered expensive. The materials, inks, and dyes depicted in this book were among the most expensive. So much so that to this day, these drawings still exist in strong, crystal-clear colors. A book that is hundreds of years old. But these materials and colors are evidence of Vounich's innocence of the charge of forgery, as after the experts took samples from this book, analyzed them under the microscope, and conducted tests on them, they reached the conclusion that these materials at least date back to a long time ago. To the 15th and 16th centuries, which means that it is impossible for Vounich to be its maker because he lived in the 19th and 20th centuries, as there is a difference of 300 years. After many attempts and research, these experts were able to find a number of people who owned this book before handing it over to Vounich. We will not go into the details of each person, because that would take a long time. The important thing is that they were able to create a timeline that includes a number of names and characters who had a strong belief that they had this book in their possession at a certain period. Among these figures are scholars, doctors, rulers, and emperors. Scientists believe that this book was written in the 16th or 17th century during the reign of the Roman Emperor Rudolph II, and they believe that this emperor was one of the first people to possess the book. Here is a question. Where did the emperor get this book? There is a theory that he bought it from an English astrologer named Edward Kelly, who claimed that he could communicate with spirits and angels since the days when he was living in England in those days. He was working at a job from which he was fired on charges of forging official documents. It appears that they cut off one of his ears because of this charge, which made him hide it for the rest of his life, either by wearing hats or with his long hair. After this incident, Kelly left England and began traveling in different European cities claiming to be a scientist. When he learned that Roman Emperor Rudolph II loved science and rare and strange things, he decided to try to get closer to him. This emperor employed some scientists, doctors, etc. It seems that many of them were pretending to be so and faking their work. So Edward Kelly tried to be one of them. He went and claimed to be an alchemist and claimed that he could turn some ordinary materials into gold. It seems that he was able to deceive the emperor by trickery, sleight of hand, and with the help of some helpful people. Those who were with him secretly managed to put on a show in front of the emperor and dazzle him with his abilities, which were just tricks. After that, Edward was able to get closer to the emperor, and later became one of the emperor's entourage and one of his scholars. Then Edward began to think about how to get money from this emperor, who seemed to believe everything. And after thinking, he decided to make a book in a strange language and say that this book was rare and that it came through angels, and according to his claim, he could communicate with them. In fact, Edward Kelly used the forgery skills he mastered while he was in England, brought expensive materials, and was able to create this book with the highest level of professionalism. After that, he went to the emperor and presented it to him, and he was able to convince him that the value of this book was worth 600 coins at that time, which is equivalent to 2 kilograms of gold. And here we get a strong motive that supports this theory that Edward Kelly is the author of this book and that he faked everything in it. But this theory, which was very strong at the time, was disproven after carbon dating analysis of the book's leaves. Last time, They could not do a carbon analysis of the book because a large part of the book needed to be cut out. This is completely unacceptable because it will cause great harm to the book. Microscopic analysis proved that the book dates back to the 15th or 16th century. But after the development of technology, it became possible to conduct carbon analysis without cutting a large portion of the book's pages. In fact, experts took 4 small samples from different parts of the book and analyzed them with this carbon analysis, through which they could precisely date the animal skin from which the book's leaves were made. After that, they discovered that the book dates back to the beginning of the 13th century, that is, between 1404 and 1438. This recent discovery destroyed many theories that revolved around this book, including Edward Kelly's theory because he lived in the 16th century, and the book dates back to the 13th century.
There are also other theories about figures such as Leonardo da Vinci, and it is possible that he was the one who wrote the book. And there are other famous ingenious figures known throughout history, but many of these theories collapsed after carbon analysis, which confirmed that this book dates back to the 13th century. This discovery made the issue more complex, and to this day the origin of this book is not known, even though they knew its owner before. But its origin, or the person who wrote it, has not been known over the years. Many experts have tried to decipher and understand the meaning of the language in the book. Among these, and one of the most professional people in this field throughout history, is William Friedman, who many consider to be the greatest cryptographer of the modern era. This man was the commander of the research department in the U.S. Army in 1930. He and his team were responsible for cracking the Japanese Army's code in World War II, and their cracking of this code was one of the keys that helped America win on Japan at that time. So this might be the right person to decode the book. William was very curious to know what was inside the book. He gathered a team of code-breaking experts and began trying to decipher the codes contained in this book and understand its language. Their attempts and research for this book continued for 40 years. The surprising thing is that they were not able to solve the code of the book, and it is impossible. And the reason is that this language in reality has no meaning. This was the conclusion reached by the largest code-breaking expert after 40 years of research and trying. In the modern era, there have been attempts to use computers and artificial intelligence in order to analyze the text of the book. They entered every letter in it into a huge database, and to complete these analyses, they entered it into the computer to analyze and compare the distribution patterns of letters and words between this text in the book and other texts that actually exist, known in use. The result is that many letters and words and their distribution and pattern of repetition resemble natural and known languages. But most of the elements or sentence structures are present in the text of Vounich's book. They did not conform to natural language patterns. In short, this language from the outside looks like a normal or natural language, meaning that there is an intelligent person who composed these words as if they were a correct or natural language. But at the same time, they have no meaning. And this is a strange thing. Even with the advancement of advanced technology, this book remains a mystery. No one can solve it to this day. I wonder, will it be discovered soon? Or is this really a professional trick that has never been done before? Or will this book remain a mystery forever? Share with us in the comments. Thanks for watching.